Hello my lovelies, and welcome back to Sondering Tarot. It's time to do our Deck Strength versus Weakness series for the month of December 2023. And as voted on by you guys, we had a tie between the Magical Dogs Tarot and the Elemental Empath Oracle by Mayuki Rose that you see on the table. That is our featured deck of the month for December. Speaking of which, our poll for January is up on my community tab, so feel free to wander over there and vote for next month's deck of the month. Oh, and I better get my carnelian crystal out of there. That does not need to be there. But for those of you that are new to this series, this is a series that I like to create an index with, to find and discover pairings with, to also know what jobs and strengths and weaknesses are of my decks. And I am just sharing that information with you in case you find it valuable. So as much as this is a 5-part series, for this video we're going to cover the strength and weakness of this deck, the job of this deck. I will either give you another deck that has the exact same strength, job, or a deck that will make up for the weakness, if I've got one, as well as whether or not the deck is worth purchasing. Video parts 2 through 5 are going to be over perfect pairs, Tarot and Oracle, and anti-pairs, Tarot and Oracle. So, feel free to watch one part, all parts, whatever tickles your fancy. To make it easier, I do have all 3 sections in their own separate playlist. So if you want the first part that just tells you the strength and weakness, look at my playlist marked Deck Strength versus Weakness. If you're looking for anti-pairs for any particular deck that I've already covered, you may find that in that particular playlist. If you're wanting perfect pairs of just oracles for any deck that I've already covered, you need to go to the Perfect Pairs playlist. I've tried to make it as easy to find as possible. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into this lovely deck right here. This is an Oracle deck. It's actually, as it says on the box, a self-love Oracle for empathic women. Now, I said this is designed for empathic women. Does that mean that you need to be an empath to use it? No. Does that mean you need to be a woman in order to use this deck? No. Let me make that clear right up front. If you would like to use this particular deck, you may do so. But it is an Oracle deck, 52 cards. I want to make sure that you know the card count because this is an Oracle deck and not a Tarot deck. And for those of you looking for this, the Elemental Empath Oracle by Mayuki Rose, her shop is called Rose Soul Art. And as far as I know, this deck is still available for purchase on Amazon through Mayuki. She still has copies left. As far as I know, there's not a second printing coming, so while supplies last. This is also a deck that is photography based. And as you can see, we have this lovely, nice magnetic box that opens. And if you've never got a copy of this in your hands, this has a rose petal finish to the box. I just want to pet the box. It's fantastic. So let me get the guidebook and the additional card out of the way. Here is the backings. I actually quite like the backings. It is gilded, so love it, hate it. It is gilded. Here, size comparison for those of you that are wondering, because this is an Oracle deck, but the card stock is not standard size Oracle. I mean, you have leeway on both sides, but here, I have the Wisdom of the Oracle right here. See? It's a hair narrower than Wisdom of the Oracle, which, if I remember right, is a standard Oracle size. So a little bit different size. As I said, this is a photography deck, so you do have a photograph of a person, and then they went back through and Photoshop and digitally edited other things over it. And this is an elemental deck, so it is broken into suits. Whereas other Oracle decks don't always have any rhyme or reason, this has categories. It has suits, and there's 5 of them. Earth, air, fire, water, and cosmos, which represents spirit. And you'll see that with this symbol up here. You get a title, and then you get 2 to 4 keywords or phrases down at the bottom. So let me pull out one of each suit so you can see what this looks like. And they are actually really nice in the fact that they are color-coded. So we have water, fire, air, earth, and cosmos. And I hope all of that's still in frame, but if it's not, I apologize. Now, when it comes to this particular deck and its strengths, okay, it has 1 strength. The strength of this deck is actually connections. And I quite like it for a connection deck, especially considering it's an oracle. I don't have a lot of oracles that have this particular strength. In fact, I think it's the only one in my collection that has this strength. So it's a little bit of a niche in my collection. I also don't have a lot of photography decks. I only have this one and a tarot deck. And it's not even a full tarot deck. It's more of a majors only. So that makes this extra special, at least in my collection. I don't know about yours. Now, another deck that I could grab in place of this one, if this one won't pair, unfortunately, is going to be a tarot deck because I don't have an oracle that will do the exact same job. But I do have the Myths and Legends Tarot by Taylor Holquist Todd. This is something else I could grab if I needed connections. Now, I have a lot of connection decks when it comes to tarot. I've got quite a few of them now. Like 5 or 6, I think, that I'm aware of. Granted, I'm always acquiring decks, so maybe my count is now off because I have decks that are brand new to me that I haven't interviewed or had a chance to play with yet. And as you can see, this is a connection deck, but so is this. And they are completely different by the aesthetics. So let me be clear for those of you that are new to this particular series. When I say something pairs or doesn't pair, I'm not talking about the visuals. I'm not talking about the aesthetics. I'm not talking about how pretty it looks on the table. No, I'm talking about the energy of the deck. Okay. Now, when it comes to the Elemental Empath Oracle here, it does have 1 weakness, and that is shadow work. This deck is not designed to equip itself to handle shadow work very well. The fact that this is geared towards empaths, connections makes complete sense to me as a strength. Not doing shadow work also makes sense to me as a weakness. So, since this deck cannot do weakness, skill set here in a spread. In other words, if I need empath stuff, but I also need, or the job of this deck, let me rephrase. If I need empath correlation, connection, or the job of this deck itself, but I also need shadow work, I can't get the same thing out of this deck. It's just not possible. So I would have to bring in another deck to make up for what this one lacks. Now, I always like to give as much information about that as I can. So I did pull out one of my decks that excels in shadow work to show you. This is still in order. This is the Druidcraft Tarot. And yes, this is a tarot deck, but it is bigger in card size than this Oracle. These cards are freaking huge. But this is a deck that if I needed shadow work, well, I had the Elemental Empath Oracle on the table that I could grab to make up for what that Oracle lacks. So this is just a perfect example of a shadow work deck that you could use as gap coverage. Is it the only one you can use? No. But it's just an example that I had. I thought you would appreciate. Bring this back in. Okay, so what is the function of this particular deck in my collection? Believe it or not, I do not have another deck that does this exact same job. This is the only deck I have that has this job. This deck highlights emotional connections. So good, bad, doesn't matter. Platonic, romantic. You know, if you have feelings about something in a connection area, or how to connect emotionally to something, this deck is for you. This deck is what you want to grab. I would love to give you another deck that has the strength of connections, that does the same duty in my collection as this one. However, that's no bueno. I don't have that. I haven't found another deck, Tarot or Oracle, that can function the same way as this one does. And that's just how the cookie crumbles. Now, when it comes to whether or not this deck is worth purchasing, this is an indie deck. So copies, like I said, as far as I'm aware, there is only one print run. So whatever copies Mayuki has in her shop and on Amazon right now are the only ones in existence. And there may not be any more. So limited quantities, indie deck, higher price. I will also say some people consider the gilding on the edges a knock in the negative category. Some people don't like this type of edging. Some people also like to edge and modify their own decks, which this makes hard because it's already gilded. Now, on the flip side, some of you consider this a pro because, number one, it looks pretty. It matches the deck so well. It does. It also means you don't have to take the time to modify and edge it and color it yourself. It does come with extremely nice packaging. The magnetic box, the rose petal finish. It also comes with this extra card right here. Get the free Empath meditation. So for at least the Kickstarter copies, this deck was created with a meditation. So it is the same backing. It looks like the rest, but on the inside, instead of a photo, it's all the information for the meditation. So that's the bonus of the deck. So let me grab that out of here because we're now going to go into the guidebook. Now, the guidebook, I would say, is a pro, very much so. You get like 3 to 5 pages on any one particular card. So hopefully my camera will focus. Get this up here. You do get a colored photo, but it's like the size of a postage stamp. I'm sorry, but that's tiny. But you get the title of the card. You get everything about the card. You get some functions. You get potential blockages. You also get an exercise for every single card. And if my camera will focus on it, Mayuki took the time to list every model and photographer for every card. So some of these models might be the same, some of the photographers might be the same, but she went through and made sure to mark every single one of these cards to give everyone their credit they are due. So let's normalize this because that is awesome. I would love to see that in any photography deck. Just like any deck where it's a collaboration and each card is by a different person, I would love the information on the artist for each individual card in the guidebook. That is essential to have. So the fact that she took such good care and time into that is fantastic. And I will flip right to the back page. If you look at that number, my camera will focus on it, 273 pages. There's 52 cards in the deck and 273 pages to the guidebook. I mean, look. The guidebook is thick as my finger. So you get a lot in the guidebook. It's an awesome guidebook to have. A lot of useful information. So for me, this deck, by all means, is worth it. I love using it. As soon as I got it in my hands, I used it right away. There was no waiting. I was a kid in the candy store. I used it right away, and it was fantastic to use. But that's my own personal opinion. Let me know. Is it worth it to you? Is it interesting? Yay or nay? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always with this series, I will be posting parts 2 through 5 consecutively. So tomorrow will be part 2, and it will be the Perfect Pairs Tarot edition, followed by Oracle Perfect Pair, and then we will get into the anti-pairs. So, by all means, be on the lookout for those. And if you would like to say in January of 2024's Deck of the Month, please go to my community tab and vote. The more votes we have, the more interaction and engagement we get on that post, the better. And if you want a say in which deck, you gotta vote. Sorry folks, that's the way it works. If you want to say it, you gotta vote. Alright my lovelies, I hope this was informative to you, and I'm hoping I'll see you soon on the next part. Bye.